You might already know this about me, but I'm a Baptist. I'm a pretty dedicated Baptist. This is my Instagram, so it kind of tells you what team I'm on. I like being a Baptist. One of the main things that I like about being a Baptist is that we really care about ecclesiology, which is the theology of the church. We make very harsh distinctions. We follow New Testament pattern, but there is something that we do as Baptists that has kind of come out recently and honestly doesn't reflect the heart of Jesus very well. And that is sometimes at a business meeting, we can kind of lose control.
We ask you to stay seated until the ballots in your area have been collected. Again, when they're complete, we'll ask you to pass them to the right.
Larry, point of order. This is a difficult thing for me to do, to stand up.
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute.
I have a point of order.
Well, I'm not accepting your point of order. We're conducting this meeting, sir.
Right. You have a choice.
We're conducting the meeting the way it's been orchestrated.
Here's the question.
No.
Hang on.
I'm asking you to step out. Please don't do this. Don't make me do this. Please, sir,
This
please step out.
is a congregational meeting.
Everybody, we're just gonna hold off for a second, and then I'm gonna have you step out. We're not gonna proceed until you're done.
Thank you, Bill. How many of you know me? How many of you know who I am?
If any person disrupts or shouts out at any point during the meeting, whoever is speaking on stage at that point will immediately back away from the microphone, while our security team immediately comes to escort that person out of the meeting. If you are sitting near the person who has disrupted or shouted out during the meeting, please feel free to move away from that area appropriately and expediently. This will help both you and our security team or our FRT team. If anyone who disrupts or shouts out during the meeting and refuses to leave with our first response team, then security and possibly law enforcement will be asked to intervene.
So that might be the craziest business meeting I've ever seen. I think that's fair to say. I don't know the circumstances of what's going on. I know that people are talking about it and there's all kinds of accusations toward David Platt and blah, blah, blah. I'm not here for that. I don't make YouTube videos to talk about that kind of stuff. What I like to do is I like to take these bigger stories that are happening in evangelicalism and just break down some of the theology of it and talk about things that I've experienced. And so when I saw this video of this business meeting where police action, think about that, police action was threatened on the congregation. Regardless of whether you are for or against whatever position in that business meeting, that's huge. That's crazy to think of brothers and sisters in Christ calling the cops on one another because of things that are being said at a business meeting. That's just crazy. So I've been thinking about business meetings a lot over the last few years. And as Baptists, it's a huge part of really who I am. Some of my earliest memories are of business meetings gone wrong. I remember a business meeting when I was maybe 6 years old where a youth pastor was forced out of the church because of issues that he had with the senior pastor. And I remember it being heartbreaking and everyone being upset and there being a lot of division. So I remember business meetings like that way early on. I've led business meetings, chaired business meetings where I'll just say weird tactics were used to try to accomplish some kind of messed up goals. I've seen people freeze up at business meetings where, there was a lot of division and then just chaos erupt and church splits. I've seen business meetings go wrong a lot. So this video from McLean Bible Church, people are talking about that, but unfortunately, that's not super rare. Now, maybe, again, I haven't seen police action being threatened in I haven't heard about that in other business meetings, but things like it have happened quite a bit. So I've been wrestling with this whole idea of a business meeting and whether it's biblical or not. Now, I do see some pretty clear decisions being made by the early church in the New Testament. Things like in Acts chapter 6, where the elders make a decision to have this new role of deacon created because of the issue that they saw with some of the widows being overlooked. So they wanted people they could trust who were responsible to be able to take care of that problem. And then they bring it to the congregation, and the congregation having some say in who those individuals would be, and also affirming. It says that it pleased the congregation or the church for this decision to be made. So I see elders making decisions and the congregation being involved in making decisions. So I do think that meetings are necessary. But really what I've been focusing on is the business part. There's just something that's happened, and maybe it's just me, but I've been watching business meetings for a couple years where I wasn't the person in charge, and this kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It doesn't feel authentic, and it definitely doesn't feel Christian a lot of times. Sometimes there's not even prayer involved, and decisions are made, and the focus is usually, and I think that's even known for that video, that the decision was really about finances and power and authority, and people get really worked up about those things rather than, how can we best serve where we're at? How can we love one another better? We don't have meetings about those things. We just have meetings about, should we sell this building? Meetings about, should we hire new staff? Meetings about money, really. And we use these things to accomplish that, these rules. And I've been an advocate most of my ministry on Robert's Rules of Order, and asking congregations to really follow those things. But as I've kind of stepped back in ministry and watched, from the pew or the chair, I've been watching these things, and it just doesn't feel like how the New Testament church made decisions. When I look at those decisions, like in Acts chapter 6 and, other decisions that are made where we don't actually have a firm account of what happened, I see it a lot more casual. I see it a lot more loving, to be honest, and I see it more focused on ministry, mission. And I just don't see it in these business meetings. So I think that we focus way too much on that first part of business, and we become too secular when it comes to these things. And we follow these Robert's Rules of Order or some other form of order. And when we do that, we kind of lose the heart of Christ a little bit, that we don't give each other opportunity to express just a gentle spirit toward one another. It's all about, these resolutions, whether they're seconded, blah, blah, blah. Do the affirmatives have it? Like all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that we just throw all those rules of order out the window, because I do see pretty clearly 1 Corinthians 14:40, let all things be done decently and in order. So there has to be some kind of order. But I guess what I'm arguing for is just wondering whether there's a better way to make decisions in the local church context than a business meeting. I would much rather, and I think moving forward in my ministry, I'm going to be focusing more on family meetings and calling it that, and trying to express more of the attitudes of Jesus, the ethics of the kingdom in meetings, rather than, these parliamentary rules of order. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, to be honest. So I guess I'm going to ask you guys, how does your church do, how do they do business meetings? If you're a pastor, have you thought about this? Like how you can try to make it more, casual, more loving, more affirming of one another, rather than, usually people come to a business meeting because they have some kind of passion, and usually, to be honest, that's usually negative, right? Like there's a decision that they don't want to see. So how do you do that in the church context that wouldn't be so businessy? I'm sounding pretty millennial, just being like, I don't like this and I don't have a better solution for it. But I'm just starting to think about this a little bit more. And when I saw this video, it just kind of made me go like, I never want to be a part of a business meeting like that. I don't care what the end goal is. Like the means to get that, not okay. That's not how Christians should behave. And in my experience with business meetings, sometimes it's been pretty similar to that video. So I'm just wondering, leave in the comments down below, how does your church do business meetings? And do you have family meetings? And is it focused on ministry, or is it focused on money, power, authority, things like that? Let me know. I'd be very curious to know how your church does it and what you think about, a better way and what that could look like. Because I've read a lot of books. I've taken classes on business meetings, and I don't know. I just haven't found something that I think is like, this is the Jesus way to do a meeting and have decisions be made. So let me know in the comments. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you like this kind of content where I take one of these bigger stories throughout the week and I talk about a theological aspect or a church kind of issue in this, whether it's a video, a blog, podcast, like with the Mark Driscoll stuff, let me know whether you like that kind of stuff. And if you do, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back in the next video. I'll see you then.